Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
DeMarie, I know this is a tough time, and I'm sure when you told school officials you had a rifle in the trunk of your car and explained why, you never thought you'd be in the situation you're in. Tell us about it.
Well, obviously I didn't think I'd be in this situation, but with that morning, they announced that we were going to have the contraband dogs come in, and so I didn't actually realize that there may be a rifle in the trunk of my car until probably a couple minutes after they made the announcement. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I did realize, I asked my first period teacher if I could go and move my car, and he told me no, but he said I could call down to the office. So I left a message with our secretary, Miss White, for our principal, saying that I believe I have a rifle in my car, that I wasn't completely sure, but if I could move my car off of school grounds or I could take it home, then that's just what I would do. So she said she'd give the message to Mr. Robbins, and probably about 15 minutes after that, our assistant principal unlocked the door and told me to grab all my books. And as we were walking down the hall, I asked him, what do you want me to do? Where do we go from here? And he told me at that point that I was expelled.
Wow.
And from there, we met the school resource officer in the parking lot, and he confiscated my gun. He said I could get it back at the police department, and that I wasn't in any trouble with the law. It was just a school policy. So from there, I went to the office, and Mr. Geiser, assistant principal, called my mom, typed up a report, and had me write a written statement on what had happened. Mm-hmm. And when my mom arrived at the school, he told us that I had a 21-day minimum expulsion and that it could be more. I'd have a hearing in 1 to 2 weeks, and that that we'd get a certified letter in the mail that would tell us everything that would happen. Mm-hmm. And I left the school, and that's about it.
I mean, how tough have the past couple of days been for you?
Well, it's getting better. It was shocking at first, but a situation like this is always shocking.
Mm-hmm. I've got to ask you, Sean, your reaction when you first found out about this. I mean, here, what happened to honesty is the best policy.
Yeah, I agree that honesty is the best policy, and I think the school officials obviously have some responsibility when they learn of that, and I think the question is, whether or not their response was the appropriate response. So, I think that's what we're trying to figure out, and then, of course, the issue of the uncertainty going forward, uncertainty with her schoolwork, uncertainty with what the board's going to do. That's, obviously causes concern to the family, which is, I guess, why I'm involved.
Mm-hmm. I mean, is this the school policy? It's a handbook. I know they talked about that. I was reading about that. Or is there a law about how to deal with this?
No, they're operating under the school policy. There is, of course, the federal law, which then I think mandated all the states to pass a statute that required the school boards to adopt a policy that required a minimum year suspension and then a case-by-case basis exception, and that's, in fact, what the Columbia Falls School District did adopt, and that's what they're following.
Mm-hmm. DeMarie, I've got to ask you, here you are, you're an honor student, you're very involved in the school, you're a cheerleader. For your grades for this semester, how's that going to affect all this?
Well, at this point, I can't really say either way, because at this point we're not sure if I can turn in any of my work or not. Mm-hmm. I do know it's definitely harder to get my work done without the instruction of my teachers, and just being in the classroom and having the help that I could have.
Go ahead.
I will hope that I can have my grades be maintained somewhat.
Yeah, and I'm sure your mom and dad have talked about, but I'm sure you're also concerned about the long-term impact. I mean, what happens when you apply to college if this is on a record?
Well, as of right now, there's some college applications that you have to put whether you were expelled and for what reason. But I would hope that this won't affect my college education and which colleges I would like to apply for.
You know what you want to do?
I want to go to the University of Montana, and I want to be a respiratory therapist.
Oh, wow, that's great. What has been the reaction from the community to what happened to you?
The community has been generally supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and if I could chime in, our county newspaper, the Daily Interlake, had their opinion page for the first time that I've ever seen was actually entitled, I think, Letters in Support of Demery's situation, and that's the first time in my years that I've been around, which is 20-some years, that I've actually seen a full opinion page dedicated to a single issue.
Yeah, and I mean, it really has struck a nerve when you consider that there's already lawmakers. They're so outraged about what happened, is they're looking at legislation to change what's going on, to put some common sense into these zero-tolerance policies. I'm sure you've heard about that, Sean.
Yeah, I am aware that the legislatures, the local ones anyway, have contacted Montana Shooting Sports Association.
Right,
about,
and Gary Marbut,
Yeah, about helping draft some amendments to, I guess, curtail the zero-tolerance part of the policy.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure, though, the support's got to be helping you, Demery.
Yes, it's been helpful to have the support of my community.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Sean, has this happened to other students that you know about?
It has. I mean, in Columbia Falls, in fact, or the school district had to deal with it 3 times or 4 times that we're aware of in the last year.
And how have they dealt with it?
2 years.
Well, from the minutes that we have from those meetings, which are silent on the circumstances of under which, you know, the person had a firearm at school, but I'm going to presume. Well, actually, I'm not going to presume because only one of them was during hunting season, and the other 2 were out of hunting season. You know, they gave one was a no suspension as of that meeting, but it's unclear whether or not the person had been suspended up to that meeting. Another person had received 10 days, and then the last one, which was October of 2009, the student had received 15 days of suspension.
Mm-hmm. But not a full year.
Not a full year. So far, and that's why I think that the board, in this case, you know, has exercised some discretion in the past, and we're hopeful that they'll do the right thing in this situation.
You got a hearing Monday night. Will Demery get a chance to speak? I mean, she really hasn't a chance to really make her case there.
Yeah, she certainly had her chance to make her case in the media, which has gotten a lot of attention, but I do intend to have her tell the board what happened, and I will simply make recommendations to the board and maybe point out a couple of things that I see with the policy.
Mm-hmm. Demery, well, if you can say anything, what's your message to the board? What do you want them to know?
Just that I hope they make the right decision, that whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But, I mean, the fact that you told them and you came right out, you didn't have anything to hide. It's not like you were a threat to the school.
Well, honesty is my best policy, but again, it's just for the board to decide. It is a school policy, and I'll accept my punishment for whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll be watching, and I got to ask you, are you an avid hunter? Your family big hunters?
Yes, we are.
Uh-huh. Well, we'll be hoping for the best for you on Monday. We'll be thinking about you, and we'll give you a call and see how things turn out.
Well, thank you.
All righty, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Uh-huh.